Class Act Federal Credit Union. My name is Carolyn Callahan. I'm the Chief of Communications for Jefferson County Public Schools, and I'm excited to be here with each of you today. Please continue to enjoy and finish your meals as we get our program started. We want you to be able to enjoy that food and then be able to give your full attention to Dr. Polio when he's up here speaking. As I look around this room, I see educators, elected officials, community members, parents, and dedicated supporters. And I have to believe that if you are sitting in this room right now, you believe in children, and you believe in doing what is best for kids always. And that is the forefront of everything that we do at Jefferson County Public Schools, and it should be our combined mission always. First, today we must thank our sponsors because this event would not be possible without them. Our presenting sponsor for the second year in a row is Class Act Federal Credit Union. I cannot think of a time that Class Act has ever even hesitated on saying yes when we have asked them to support our students and staff. Our corporate sponsors, Norton Healthcare and Paper, thank you so much for all you do for our students. And to our community sponsors, Bellarmine University, Bennett and Bloom Eye Centers, CMC, Publix Charities, U of L Health, and Wyatt Tarrant and Combs, thank you for everything you do. The generous support of our sponsors will change the lives for students throughout Jefferson County Public Schools through scholarships. Through the JCPS Scholarship Fund, some of our disadvantaged students from all schools throughout Jefferson County will receive scholarships that will allow them, many of them, to go to college, university, or post-secondary institution for the first time in their families. And I will tell you that everyone in this room has a chance to make that difference as well today. You all can donate to the Scholarship Fund. If you look at the program in front of you, on the inside panel and on the back, you'll see a QR code. If you scan that QR code, you'll be able to make a donation to the JCPS Scholarship Fund. The JCPS Scholarship Fund, again, changes lives. To date, we have given away $303,000 to 29 students. And you will hear from one of those students in just a few minutes. The day Dr. Polio goes school to school is Scholarship Prize Day. He hands out huge checks, and it is absolutely one of the best days of the year. Today, if you donate, not only are you changing a life, you are also going to have a chance to be entered to win one of our gifts of gratitude that we will give out at the end of today's event. Great things happen every day inside every JCPS school, and unfortunately, you don't get to see or hear about all of those. Maybe you miss it on social media, or you don't hear it, or the headlines drown it out. Dr. Polio is going to talk to you about a lot of the good, but I want to show you some of the good. Look at those centerpieces on your tables and these beautiful flowers next to me. Those were all put together by Seneca High School agriculture students. And that beautiful music you heard when you were coming in today, those are our talented Ballard High School students. We are happy today to have members of the Jefferson County Public Education Foundation here with us. JCPEF serves as a catalyst for enhancements to public education. The group identifies opportunities to invest in the future of our schools and the community with the objective of boosting student achievement. At this time, I would like to welcome up Foundation member Jim Allen to say a few words.
Thank you, Carolyn. And as we get ready for spring baseball practice, I'm the pinch hitter today. So I'm actually in here for Franklin Jelsma, who is the current board chair of the Jefferson County Public Education Foundation. I'm the immediate past board chair, so it's my pleasure to welcome all of you to this event. We're excited to hear from Marty and get a sense for how things are progressing within JCPS. As a foundation, we are committed to supporting public education, being a supporter to Marty and his team, advocating for better schools and academic support for students. And so, again, I'd like to also take this opportunity to recognize other members of the Jefferson County Public Education Foundation Board who are here. So if you all would please stand for a round of applause. We have a lot of longevity in that group, and again, our goal is to support the mission of JCPS, advocate, and also fundraise for various projects that fall outside the bounds of the normal JCPS budget, again, to provide support for our students. So, thank you all for being here. Let's wish Franklin the best as he recovers from the flu. And I'll certainly give him a great report on the turnout and what transpired today. So thank you all very much. Carolyn, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. The State of the District is presented by Class Act Federal Credit Union. Class Act responded to our request again this year immediately and said, yes, we want that top spot. We are so appreciative for everything they do. Whenever we call, they respond positively. Please take 1 minute now to watch this video to learn more about Class Act's Hero of Education initiative.
Has been serving educators since 1954. Over 60 years of service, we have seen how they give so much. We serve heroes more now than ever. Custodians, bus drivers, cafeteria workers, parents, and all people who dedicate their lives to our children, we see them as heroes of education. While our heroes are strong and dedicated, they need heroes too. When you become a member of Class Act, you are joining us in becoming a hero of education. Every financial product we offer is directly linked to supporting schools in the way of thousands of dollars in Heroes grants awarded directly to those who need our support the most. Heroes need your help. Visit Heroes of Education and dedicate your support to a school.
Welcoming Class Act Federal Credit Union's Executive Vice President, Tom Annenson, to the stage.
Thank you. They told me that Marty was going to go short today, so I got all the time. Awesome. All right, settle in. My name's Tom Annenson. I'm the Executive Vice President with Class Act Federal Credit Union. And these two are not my bodyguards. I'll explain to you in a minute what they are. But we have been supporting JCPS for 70 years now. In 1954, we were started by some JCPS folks and worked out of a broom closet out of Seneca High School for many years. But everything that we do supports education in the Kentuckiana area in one way or another. Whether it's the Heroes of Education platform that we have that goes to support individual schools at $15,000, they can earn up to $15,000 for their school to use as they want. To our in-school branches, we have two, getting ready to be three. We have a high school branch at Doss, Southern, and getting ready to be one at Jeffersontown High School. These fine folks right here are representatives from those that. This is Dominique Moore. She was from Doss High School, graduated in 2022, and now works for us at the credit union. So she worked through the program. Jaden Bowman, Jaden Bowman graduated from Southern in 2021, and now works for us at the main office credit union. Two superstars, I'm telling you what. And they wouldn't be here were it not for the Academies program that I know Dr. Polio is such a big advocate of. Other things like the Louisville Teacher Residency Program, we've worked with Dr. Lingo at University of Louisville to support a diverse workplace within JCPS that go through the U of L program, the LTR program there. So I just want to thank you for the opportunity to serve education in Kentuckiana. Lastly, I want to thank my two volunteer board members who served Class Act Federal Credit Union for decades, Elizabeth Caples and Beverly Westfall. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Tom. The money raised through today's event goes directly to our students through the JCPS Scholarship Fund. This fund is a game changer, again, for many students who they are the first in their family who's going to go to school. As someone who's on the interview committee for these scholarships, I can tell you, our students are unbelievably impressive. They will make you laugh, they will make you cry, they will inspire you, and they will make you want to be and do better. If you have not seen a scholarship surprise day yet, take a look at this video and you're going to feel the emotion of what it's like when we get to deliver these checks to these very deserving students.
This big check to you is worth $10,500 in cash to you.
With this check, this will make me more financially stable and allow me to pursue my dreams and passion of what I want to be.
Getting this award is going to help me focus on school more and help me lessen the burden of having to work while studying.
For a total of $10,500. But here is your check for $10,500. For $10,500. How about that? For $10,000.
This fall, I plan on going to University of Kentucky with a major in food science and a minor in Spanish.
And I'm proud to give you a check for $10,500.
And now it is my honor to introduce you to Mashad Taheri, who is a former scholarship winner, to share her story with us about what this scholarship has meant to her.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mashad, and I'm truly honored to stand before you today to talk about the impact the JCPS Employees Scholarship Fund has had on me. When I reflect on where I am today, I can't help but acknowledge the pivotal role this scholarship played in my achievements. Becoming one of the very first recipients of this prestigious scholarship back in 2019 was a defining moment for me. As an immigrant to this country and a first-generation college student, navigating the path to higher education seemed daunting at times. I remember sitting in the interview room in front of Dr. Polio and the rest of the selection committee, sharing my story and aspirations, and for the first time, I felt a sense of validation and support. Shortly afterwards, Dr. Polio surprised me at school with a giant check, balloons, and multiple cameras pointed my way. Their belief in my potential not only helped with tuition expenses, but more importantly, provided me with encouragement and confidence. It marked the very first scholarship I had ever received, and it opened doors for me to apply and obtain more scholarships. By the way, I just graduated college debt-free. Thank you. Through college, I embraced every chance to give back and make a difference, knowing that I carried with me the support and belief of those who had invested in my future. Because of this scholarship, I was able to believe in myself and founded the Middle Eastern and North African Student Association at U of L. It was because of this scholarship I found myself giving back to my community by teaching English to newcomers, volunteering at the Free Smiles Clinic as a dental assistant, and serving as a diversity student ambassador for admission. It is, thank you. It is why I was crowned the Kentucky Derby Festival Queen, and now I'm thrilled to announce my acceptance to University of Louisville School of Dentistry in the fall. I just wanted to say that if it were not for the donors and supporters of the JCPS Employee Scholarship, I would not I would not be able to stand here today with the achievements I've earned and the impact I've made. This scholarship has instilled a burning passion in me to make a difference in my community. Thank you for believing in me and countless others. With your supports, students are able to maximize their full potential and go above and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schad. At JCPS, we celebrate our achievements, we learn from our challenges, and we strive relentlessly towards a future where every child is thriving and succeeding. We recognize the importance of collaboration, innovation, and continuous improvement in shaping the educational landscape of our district. And everything we do in the best interest of kids. But we could not do this work without the man that you've all come here to hear from today. Dr. Marty Polio's dedication to education knows no bounds, with an unwavering commitment to always do what's best for kids, and that means not always making the popular decisions. Dr. Polio's leadership is transforming this district and countless lives. For nearly 3 decades, he has dedicated himself to JCPS as a coach, a teacher, a principal, and the superintendent. He is one of the longest tenured superintendents in the Council of the Great City Schools, and he is someone who pushes every one of us to be better every single day, and he does it all because he truly cares about kids. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Marty Polio.
Thank you, Carolyn, and thank you for the great introduction. Round of applause for our communications team for putting together such a great event. They work really hard at this and do such a great job and have this wonderful lunch. Can't say enough. And, I'm so excited to be here in front of so many people that are supporters of public education. And we need you more than ever right now to be a supporter of public education and be a supporter of Jefferson County Public Schools. I'm proud to represent JCPS and come to you today and bring you the State of the District Address. This is the 6th annual State of the District Address. Actually, the first one I gave in 2018 was right here in this room. So it's so exciting to be back here in front of you all today. I do want to send out some thanks. I'm going to say this. Last year, I said I was going to try to keep it under 30 minutes. Yesterday, I went back and watched my speech from last year, and I'm admitting it was about 52 minutes long. But what I did also note is by the time I got done with all the thanks, I was 20 minutes in. And so I'm going to try to be very efficient here. The communication team continues to tell me, Dr. Polio, this is people's lunch, like you got to let them get back to work. And so I'm going to do my best to keep this definitely under 30 minutes. They kind of laugh at me, say no way, but I think I can do it this year. So I'm on the clock, Carolyn, you got me? Excellent, excellent. So a few thanks. I'm sorry if I don't recognize all of you. I am going to be a little more efficient in thanks this year and kind of do it in groups. But first of all, our students that are here, students from Ballard High School, can we give a round of applause to our students? And I want to say again, what you just heard about that scholarship and the impact that it has on it. I know sometimes we just say, oh, it's going to go to a scholarship for students, and we don't put a face to it. That was a face to the scholarship. Your contributions that you have made to this scholarship fund allowed a student to graduate from the University of Louisville debt-free and go on to dental school. This is each and every one of these students. So we're going to ask you at the end, once again, to please contribute if you feel like you can, because it is a difference maker. And I say this, graduating from college for a student is not just changing their life, especially when they come from poverty. It is generational, and it changes their children's lives and their children's lives. That's how important education is. That's how important that you are here with us today and supporting public education and JCPS. So thank you for that. I'd like to recognize our board members, and I'm not going to go, but board members, would you please stand up? I think we have 6 out of 7 here. Please stand up. Thank you so much for your all's work. I'll say this again. I don't think people understand the work that goes into being a board member, the difficult decisions that go into it, the communications that come their way on making very, very difficult decisions. These are people that truly care about kids and are not doing this for the, whatever it is, $60 a meeting or whatever they get, and a total of a few $1,000s for the entire year. And my guess is they probably spend more supporting this work than they actually do get in. So these are true volunteers who are working to make our community better, who have children and grandchildren in our schools and just want the best for our community, and I don't think that is said enough. Truly appreciative. I also want to highlight the work that our board is doing around student outcome-focused governance, which is spending the past year making sure that they are the most effective and efficient in the role that they do, receiving training from the Council of the Great City Schools on setting goals for student outcomes, and ensuring that the board's work supports us getting to those outcomes. And that's difficult and tough work, but our board is doing that work. And so I thank you very much for all of your hard work as we continue on. Also, I'd like to let community leaders that we have here, any of our politicians that are representing, if you could please stand up. Anybody that's representative or a politician that is sacrificing to provide us, thank you very much. Specifically, I do want to thank Mayor Greenberg. Thank you for being here today. We appreciate your support of JCPS and all the work that you do. Morgan McGarvey, House of Representatives, so thankful for you as well. JCPS parent, so proud to have you here. Thank you very much for joining us, as well as everyone who sacrifices their time and effort to make those difficult decisions. I'll tell you, right now, being a leader, it's the toughest time ever to be a leader, I believe, in decades in this country. It is hard. It's hard work. Very politicized, obviously under attack all the time, no matter what the decisions are made. And anyone who is stepping up to the plate to be a leader in this time, I recognize. So once again, we'll get into the State of the District address. I hope I did miss one thank you I wanted to say. This is a pretty important one. Anyone on the JCPS team, whether it's teacher, administrator, principal, central office, please stand up. I'd like to recognize you for your work. Thank you so much for all of your work. I'm just going to say this, that the work that these people do, and whether it's a teacher or an administrator, is just, I'm inspired every single day. I doubt there's anyone that has been in more schools in JCPS than I have or spent more years, and at no time in the history of this district have I felt like we have a team here together that is working harder for student outcomes and student success than we have ever had. And for anyone who says that we have overpaid administrators, obviously don't know the work that these people are doing every single day, 7 days a week, dedicating themselves to the success of JCPS, and I thank you all for your hard work. Thank you very much. All right, so as Carolyn said, this will be the end of this year, my 7th year as superintendent in JCPS. And that is just amazing to me that this is 7 years in to this job. In many ways, it seems like dog years, right? It's been like 49 years. And it 1 to 7 dog years, like 49 years on this job. I can't even remember what life was like before this. In other ways, it seems like it was just yesterday that I was signing on to this. And so, you know, it's very strange when you think about this. And here I am now. I still feel I'm relatively new at this job. And I think there's only 1 or 2 out of the 78 districts in the Council of the Great City Schools now that has a superintendent that is more veteran than I am at this, which really makes me feel old. And not just, Laura, when I say the Council of Great City Schools, that's the 78 largest school districts in America by enrollment. And so it's every large city. But it's not just that, it's small districts as well. I still reflect back on my first year in my superintendent internship program, which is that first year as a superintendent, we get support from the state. There was about 25 of us in that. I think we're down to 2 that are left in the state of Kentucky. And that's what we're talking about with this job and how challenging it is, especially in today's day and age. You know, I think back to when the job was open and the board was interviewing candidates for interim superintendent. You may have heard me told this before, but if you have, bear with me. And some of the board members are still here, but I was a principal at Doss. And I loved being a principal at Doss, and I felt I was going to finish out my career until I retire as principal of Doss. And I was like everybody else. I wonder who's going to get this job. I wonder who's going to be the interim. I wonder who's going to be the permanent. I'd got my superintendent certification when I got my doctorate from the University of Louisville, but I had no intention of doing that until that one day when I got the phone call from our general counsel from JCPS, which I thought I was getting sued at the time. When you get a call from general counsel as a principal, that's usually not a good call, right, Kevin? It's not a good call. But I got the phone call and they asked, and I said, yeah, and they said, the board would like you to apply for interim superintendent. And I said, wow, that's awesome. I know I'm not going to get it, but I'll go in there and I'm just going to tell them exactly how I feel, what we should do. And so I went to that. And the next morning, I got a call from Chris Brady, the chair, offering me the interim superintendent job. And I had the largest oh shoot moment of my life. I will never forget that moment at that time when you realize, okay, here are the keys. The district is yours now at this time. And there's no looking over to someone else and saying, I think we should do this. It's on you, which is a realization of how challenging and difficult, that can be. I thank my family for that time. This 7 years has been difficult, obviously, and challenging. It's worked hard. My wife, my daughter Jenna, who everyone knows is now at college. She is a freshman at college. I don't think that's a secret to anyone. Yes, once again, I did drive her to college. I'm sorry for that. FYI, she's having a wonderful time. I was worried about grades, saw those. She's doing great, so that's all great. But, really what I want to focus on today, we can focus on several things. But as I said, my 7 years, I'm going to focus a lot on what I've learned as JCPS superintendent. And really what I've learned about JCPS, education as a whole, this community, this Commonwealth of Kentucky, the things that we continue to do. And I will say, I don't think I've been now finishing my 27th year in JCPS, just about every role that you can possibly have in a school, and now superintendent, and been in every single school multiple times. And so I'll tell you this, every time I go into a school, I'm absolutely blown away. First thing I've learned as superintendent of JCPS, once you think you've learned it all and you know it all about leadership, you're about to get punched in the mouth. And that is what happened at the start of this school year for me. I was absolutely punched in the mouth on this. But, I learned a lot from that, and obviously some of the challenges that we face. But that has been a real learning experience for me as well. If you've been to other State of the District addresses, you've heard me say some of the same themes you're going to hear today. Talk about future state. I talked about future state back in 2019. Fortunately, now I can talk about not what we're going to do, but what we've done and how that has had a positive impact on the students in our district. I will say this, every time I say me or we, that is this Board of Education and a team of 8 and all of these people here in JCPS who have worked extremely hard to make sure we are successful. But I'm really going to focus on what I've learned here in JCPS and what I've learned in my 7 years doing this very difficult and challenging work. I will say this, despite the challenges we faced, especially this year, I am absolutely more excited and enthused about what is happening inside of our schools every single day. You can talk to any of these folks that work in schools every single day, and they will tell you the same things. We have amazing things going on in our schools right now, and I want to highlight that. So 2 things I'm going to really focus on. Number 1, where we are and some of the outcomes we are seeing as a result of what we've called the future state, but really right now it is the present, the changes we have made. And number 2, some of the threats to JCPS that I am going to be a little snarky about. I apologize for that, but I do want to make sure everyone in here knows the facts. We're very loose with facts these days in our society, and I want to make sure everyone knows the facts. I will touch a little bit on transportation. I'm sorry to our media friends, this will not be all about transportation. I know that's what they would like to hear, but it's going to be a little different than that, because I really want to highlight on the work that's taking place in our schools. And so I think this quote from President Obama sums up the feelings that I have about success and what we need to do. And President Obama said, if you're walking down the right path and you're willing to keep walking, eventually you'll make progress. I first started talking about the future state in 2019. We were at the Galt House at that time, or excuse me, 2020, right before we went into the pandemic. But we continued. We knew we were on the right path. We knew we were doing the right things, and we had to stay on that path. And now we are receiving, and we know our students are receiving the fruits of our labor and what we are doing. The payoff is happening now, and I'm so excited about the future of JCPS. So really what I want to highlight to do is talk to you about that right path and how we're continuing to walk that right path as we speak right now. You'll see today we are on that right path, and we are making progress. And the answer is to continue on the right path. We should have support from everyone in this room, from the results that we have seen, from what is happening in JCPS. And yes, we have challenges, but we should know we stay on this path and not get diverted onto other paths as a community. We will see success like we have never seen before. And so one of the first things I learned as superintendent at JCPS, we had to have fundamental change. There is no doubt about it. When I took the job as superintendent, I've said this before, we had not made major change in this district for the better part of 4 or 5 decades. We all know that's not good for a school district or any organization. That's just not going to be effective. We needed to make change. I tell this story every single year. I brought together a team in 2019. We spent days figuring out, let's talk about student outcomes. How do we get to unprecedented student outcomes? Set everything else aside. Let's first all start at the things that are in our way right now. What is the current state that is preventing us to get to where we want to go? And then, what would it look like to be where we want to be? And what will those outcomes look like? That was all the way back in 2019. Through a pandemic, through all, the political division, everything that's happened between then and that time is the right path. And what we have said is we have an opportunity to do something that's never been done in JCPS, and we're going to do it. And we have stuck to this. And I will tell you the major problem in education, this may be in other industries, but in education, we don't stick to the right path. We make a change, we say, let's hope that works. We expect it to have immediate results. When it doesn't have immediate results, we switch to something else. That is the case in education. And that is something we said we're not going to do. We're going to stick to the right path, and we are going to keep walking. And so let's look at some of those fundamental changes we have made in JCPS and how it is paying off for kids. Because I think I would be hard-pressed to find any district in America who has made more changes, who has changed the foundation of a district like Jefferson County Public Schools has in the past 5 years. So first, let's take a look at school choice. I have stood up before you many times, and you've probably heard me talk a multitude of times about providing every kid choice. So we valued for many, many years 2 things in this district. We valued choice and we valued diversity. Well, unfortunately, we had a group of students who had no choice. It was predominantly our black students who lived in West Louisville. I had told you I thought it was one of the most inequitable things that a school district has ever had as a fundamental policy, is to say we believe in diversity, but the weight of that diversity on the shoulders is only going to be on students who live in that area right there. That is predominantly West Louisville, from downtown, as you can see, right around 9th Street, all the way to Shawnee Park. Those were the students who had no options. And I will make this very clear. I don't live where I did before, but I live 2 blocks from Atherton High School. If I had moved into that house, I could walk my daughter up to Atherton High School and say, here is proof of my residence. I'd like to enroll my daughter at Atherton High School. However, the same student at 41st and Market, the same family, a family at 41st and Market who could see the academy at Shawnee from their front door, were not able to send their child. If they walked into Shawnee, Shawnee would say, I'm sorry, your school is Valley High School, or Pleasure Ridge Park, or Doss, or J-Town. We made a commitment to change that, and that is paying off. And so, as you can see, we have been blown away by the number of students and families, especially at elementary and middle school, who have chosen to stay within their community. Nearly 80% of our elementary and our middle school students and their families have chosen to stay close to home. About 40% of our high school students, which clearly shows that's what the families have wanted. But what that took was a lot of outreach. I'd like to thank Amanda Averett Bush, and just wave real quick, and her team for their incredible and tireless work on outreach to make sure every student has had choice. And so here is the challenge you're going to hear in buildings. The problem is we don't have enough schools in that area. Building facilities in West Louisville has been neglected for 50, 60 years. And so in order to change that, we have to invest in that area right there. I'm proud to say that our investment in West Louisville in facilities, if you take District 1 since 2017, which is that area I showed you, is more than all 6 of the others combined, because we know we must invest in West Louisville, and that unfortunately has not been done in our district in a long time. Go ahead and clap for that, Lyndon. Thank you. But we just can't go back to the way it was and say that, yes, we're going to have concentrations of poverty and potential concentration of race. I believe this. You've heard me say this a multitude of times. I continue to say it. Students who have the least amount of resources in their home need to have the most amount of resources in their school. Should be a fundamental thing in the United States of America. And every time I speak, people shake their head and say yes. However, that doesn't happen hardly anywhere. It's actually the opposite. Students who have the most amount of resources in their home have the most amount of resources in their schools, which I will tell you, if they break up JCPS, that will be here. This will no longer happen, and that will be a reality in Jefferson County moving forward. But we must resource our high poverty schools. We must provide them the things that they need. And I just want to look up here. How about my man Dino up here? Isn't that a great picture of Dino right there? Nothing says any better than on the far right. And why is Dino up there? Dino was a student at King Elementary School. Probably the school, one of 2 or 3 schools with the highest poverty in the state. And I'm not just talking free and reduced lunch. I'm talking deep poverty. And if you went to their school last year, or 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, you saw a school that looked down, depressed. Kids weren't happy to be in there. A playground that was an embarrassment to the community. Very little branding, and I say branding. You see that lion on his shirt? Our communications team spent a great deal of time and resources to make sure we branded. You can see Breckenridge Franklin. They have a big frog. You can see King Elementary. And that sounds small, guys, but a kid like Dino walking in, and I walked into King Elementary School on that day, and he was so proud of his lion on his shirt. Like, he was so proud of his lion. They had signage all over the walls. The kids were telling me this is the first time that they have felt pride in their school. Then we went out and cut the ribbon on a brand new playground. Why hasn't King had a playground before, when many of our other schools in East Louisville have beautiful playgrounds? Well, they didn't have the PTA. They didn't have the alumni support. Many of our schools could raise $110,000 in 2 weeks for a playground. King Elementary could not. Because we now resource our high poverty schools, we brought a new playground. I wish it was one of my favorite days of the year. I went to King Elementary. We lined the kids up. We were going to cut the ribbon. All they wanted to do was get on the playground, but we were holding up for the adults. Oh no, we got pictures to take to cut the ribbon. But I mean, you could just see the pride in their face when they walked out onto that playground and they had their lion. That's small things that matter so much. And it really does hurt my heart when I think how many years King Elementary has gone without a playground. Got the principal of King Elementary, Rhonda, wave back there. Thank you. And all of our Choice Zone principals, please stand up, Choice Zone principals. Rhonda, am I lying about the excitement around the school? Absolutely not. I mean, and it just changed. So what we did was to say, if these are going to be our highest poverty schools, we're going to make sure that they have everything they need in order to be successful. We're going to provide stipends to teachers and all of those principals, rightfully so, make an additional $10,000 this year. For the first time that I can remember, we have Maupin fully staffed, Maupin Elementary, which has been an issue for staffing for many, many years. Now, we still have work to do. There is no doubt about it. We have work to do with staffing, and you'll see that as one of our challenges. But I would say we resource our high poverty schools better than any district in America, and I am so proud of that. And that is the major lever we can pull to fight poverty in our district, is making sure we fund those students who have the least amount of resources in their home. So that has been a huge step for us. Moving on to building new schools. I can't say enough about what a new school means to kids and families. I have been lucky enough to be in brand new schools on the first day of school when kids walk in. It is something, especially if they were in their old school and you see them walk into their new school. There is nothing like the look on a kid's face when they are walking in, and I get to say, what do you think of their new school? And they just say, it's incredible, and how happy they are to be at school. And I'm going to tell you, when you go into high poverty schools, the challenge of getting kids, because of what they may face, and to get them to have an excitement and love for being at school is a challenge. When they have a facility like this beautiful facility at Perry Elementary, the first school built in West Louisville this century, you get to see looks on faces where kids say, yes, this community values us and cares about our education. And I can't say enough, I wish every one of you could have that experience of seeing a kid walk into a brand new school. I've lamented for many of the State of the District addresses how few schools that we have built in the past 20 years. Before our 4 opened up, we had only built 4. And I told you in Fayette County, they had built 12. They're 2.5 times smaller than we are. And we just had to say we are willing to do the work to make that happen. And now we will be building 20 new schools in the next decade. And it will definitely change JCPS. We are going to build a brand new middle school in West Louisville. We cannot wait to do that. We opened up the first brand new middle school this year in Hudson Middle School. First one in 92, Geronda, 92 years, we'll say 92 years in West, imagine that, we haven't opened up a middle school in West Louisville in 92 years. Almost everyone's lifetime here, no one's seen a new middle school. We saw that. We will be announcing soon the new location of Hudson Middle School. Unfortunately, I can't say it yet, but it's coming, and I will be very excited when we do that and have a groundbreaking very soon, because it's going to be a fantastic ceremony for us. We have to keep doing that. This is investing in our kids. Next one, as you can see, focusing on increased learning time. You're going to hear about the results that we have had post-pandemic. I have said all along, when kids are behind, it's a real simple formula. There is no magic dust or beans to give to get kids to catch up. They need to be in front of a teacher more. We need to get them to school, and we need to make sure that we give them additional learning times for school. So because of this plan of the future state, we implemented our Backpack League, which supports 10,000 low-income students into summer learning programs, and the research is clear. When kids have access to summer learning, they achieve at much higher levels. It's just a clear thing. And so for us to get a 4-week summer learning program where kids come not just buried down in a desk and say, let's do more math and reading. Let's do fun stuff like these kids are doing, swimming and art and a variety of things. Meanwhile, supporting them with literacy and numeracy is a huge difference maker. And I have to highlight our partnership with Evolve 502. Marlon, I'd like to recognize where is Marlon Cole and all of Evolve 502. You would not believe how we are known nationally. Sometimes you don't know this about our community collaboration with Evolve 502 and our community partners. And so what we have are tons of kids who are going to their own places, Boys and Girls Club and a variety of churches, and that they go every single summer. But we still want to support them with transportation there, meals there, and specifically focus on literacy and numeracy, 90 minutes a day when they are doing that. So we can do that. We can partner with our community partners throughout this entire community and say, help us make sure we catch our kids up. And that's what we're doing with increased learning time. It's a very expensive proposition. It really is. But I can't say enough that how important it is that we get our neediest kids in front of teachers during the summer months and after school. And Evolve 502 has been a great partner when it comes to that support, as well as providing a scholarship to every JCPS senior who walks across that stage. So thank you, Evolve 502, for your partnership. We had a real focus on increased use of technology. We were fortunate to use much of our federal funds from COVID, what we call our ESSER funds, for technology to make sure we bridge that digital divide. Every single kid has access to a laptop. Every single kid has access to an internet, and our classrooms have state-of-the-art technology. And before we would walk into some of our schools, they would have incredible technologies, and go into the one next door and they would not. And now we know that we have a baseline that says all students, no matter where they go to school, no matter what zip code they reside, are going to have same access to technology as any other students. I could put things up there like what we have now in some of our schools, from drones to that central dog. What's that dog's name? Reggie, this robotic dog. I mean, the things that kids are doing today like blows me away. And so just amazing use of technology. And then as we look at the final one that I really want to focus on when it comes to our future state is, I think one of the most important things we are doing right now is a focus on literacy. Specifically, we had the opportunity from Senate Bill 1 about 2 years ago, where the superintendent was able to select a curriculum, and it is not where we had a multitude of curricula across 95 elementary schools and 25 middle schools. And instead, making sure that we focus intensely on literacy, how we teach literacy, how we support literacy, and most importantly, when a kid goes from school to school, they know they're going to have the same instruction and the same focus no matter where they go to. And so, a few things we focused on when we did this. First of all, and I can't say I'm an early, when it comes to teaching literacy at the early elementary grade levels. That has never been my expertise. But I've learned enough to be dangerous with it here over the past couple of years since we've been able to be selected. So first and foremost, we wanted to make sure we built background knowledge in kids. And so what does that mean? We hear all the time, kids can't read. Well, often they are able to read. It's having the knowledge, the background knowledge necessary to be able to read efficiently and effectively. And so if I passed out to all of you all right now an engineering manual and said, read this in the next 10 minutes and I'm going to assess you on it in 10 minutes. I wonder how effective, and there's probably some engineers in here, but the non-engineering folks, especially with the difficult terminology and vocabulary, would be able to be a proficient reader when it comes to that. And so what we had to do was to make sure we built background knowledge in our kids in many different areas so that we can then assess them on whether it was a lack of background knowledge or whether it was the ability to effectively read. And that's what we have done We have focused on this. I show you this because one of our units in 3rd grade is about frogs. They learn background knowledge about frogs. This is a kid, they all published their book. All 3rd graders wrote a book about frogs. Then we were able to, and I know that sounds, deep dive into frogs. But then our teachers are able to then assess kids and understand, do they have the comprehension knowledge necessary? Is it the skills knowledge? What do we specifically need to do to make sure that we effectively teach reading to all of our kids? And then dedicated time for skill building, that fundamentals. And so some people call it phonics, phonemic awareness. We have believed in that always, but we have never said this is the dedicated time that will happen K through 3 in every single school. And when you go in and see that now, you see those foundational skills happening with our students. And then finally, alignment across the district. I can't say it enough. I think now that we have the ability, it would be unethical for us to say one kid's being taught one way in an elementary school or a middle school, they go next door to the other school because we have such mobility in our district, and we are going to end up with a difference in how we teach reading. One of the best moments of the year, well, first of all, I was in 4 different first grade school, or 4 different schools, 7 first grade classrooms. Went in each class, 6 out of the 7. I could have picked the kid up and put him in another classroom, and they would have been working on the same thing. We had a young man walk into another elementary school, 2nd grade, and he walked into class. It was his first day, and the teacher said, let's welcome him to the class. And he said, oh, you all are reading that book? I'm almost done with it. And like that, to me, was the moment I said we're doing the right things. This change in the way we teach literacy and focus on literacy will be and is going to be a difference maker, especially with our kindergarten kids as they become 3rd graders and we test them. I feel very positive about our focus on literacy. I'd like to recognize Dr. Tara Greenwell and her team. I know they're scattered around here, for their hard work in making sure that we trained 4,000 teachers this summer when it came to teaching literacy. Math is next. We already have about half our elementary schools. That's this summer. We'll have to train 6,000 more this summer. What a lift that is, but an amazing job by her and her team. Thank you very much for all of your hard work. As I've always said, guys, I've learned, and I know this, engaging students is the most important thing. If students aren't engaged, they're not going to be successful. I highlight this every year, but I have to say, like, the work of the Academies of Louisville gets better every single year. I was a believer from the very beginning. I was on the ground floor when we started the work at Doss. But I mean, we are seeing kids do amazing. You saw 2 Class Act kids standing up here who went through the program either at Doss or Southern, who are now working in Class Act. And so when I hear people say, bring back career and technical education, we are doing that. Career and technical education is what we are doing in each and every one of our 15 high schools. It could be welding, it could be IT, it could be finance. But we are seeing amazing work from our Academies of Louisville. And I'd like to recognize our schools team, Robert Moore and the high school team, for their hard work with the Academies of Louisville. And now, once again, we've even taken it down to our middle schools who are doing Explore Pathways. We now have middle school students who are diving into things like I just saw at Westport Middle School. The students are collaborating with community leaders to decide what to do about vacant properties in the Portland neighborhood. I mean, you can see the things they're doing. I went to Ramsey Middle School for their 6th grade selection celebration of a pathway. And the kids were so excited about being able to be in a certain pathway that would lead them to a high school. Then they could visit Fern Creek and be so excited about the opportunities that Fern Creek provides. So Explore Pathway, just once again, we will be the only district in America who has this incredible 6 through 12 pathways from Explore to the Academies of Louisville. Anybody with Academies of Louisville that supports this in any way, please raise your hand. Come on, I know you're out there. Congratulations and thank you very much. True community collaboration. I can't say that enough. A couple other things I've learned. I want to talk a little bit about school safety and the paramount importance of school safety. There is no doubt about it. And we went through some difficult times about how we felt as a community as a board and in management how we should proceed with school safety. And I will say, in the end, I believe this, we got it right. We have placed a safety administrator in every middle and high school whose job it is to make sure that they spend their entire day working on safety of students, and they are an administrator. And then at the same time, we have SSOs in our school that are hired by JCPS. We will have over 30 of those by the end of this year. And just the incredible work to make sure that these are educators too. Our police officers are educators too, and they must be trained to be educators. And they support education, as you can see right there. And what a wonderful group of people who have had a major impact. So we've added these to our school communities. We've added, as you know, weapons detections for middle and high school. But most importantly, we are providing the support that people need. I'd like to recognize Katie DeFerrari for your incredible work on this, and Todd Kessinger, our new Chief of Police. So thank you very much for your hard work. We're going to continue with this. I'm going to tell you this, one of my major frustrations, and I could save it for the political part of this speech, but is around school discipline. We hear that all the time. You want to know what my greatest frustration is? I get accused from some government entities and politicians that we under-discipline. And then I get investigated by a lot of other organizations, political organizations, the federal government, for over-disciplining kids. And I often wonder what world we live in when at the same time, it's my life, I can be accused of under-disciplining and over-disciplining at the same time. But that is the world we live in right now. Maybe that means I'm getting it right, I don't know. But that is the challenge we face. And it is a very, very difficult challenge as we move forward to make sure we support kids with the needs that they have, but at the same time, we make sure to have high expectations for kids in our schools and on our buses. Another thing I've learned that is just so immense right now, I've learned the growth of multilingual learners in our community right now. And I want to say this. I believe multilingual learners bring to us, to the fabric of our schools and our district, just an unbelievable culture addition to our schools and our district. So we welcome our multilingual learners with open arms. But clearly, that comes with many, many challenges. It really does. And so when we look now, our 19,000 English language learners. When I started in this job as superintendent, it was 10 or 11. We've had an increase of about 1,000 in the past 2 months. You can see clearly the percentage of multilingual learners enrolled in JCPS from 07 all the way to 23, 24, and that last bar would be higher right now if it were updated. But you can see closing in on 20%, 1 out of every 5 students in JCPS are multilingual learners. They clearly bring to us something additional to our schools that our principals and our district love. But they also need additional supports. Did you know in the accountability system, our multilingual learners are counted twice? There is a score for how you do with multilingual learners, and then also included in proficiency. These are students who come from a variety of backgrounds, who come from a variety of nations, who may support with quality education before they come, and most of them come with very little English language acquisition at all. And yet within 24 months, we put them on a state test and say you need to be proficient. That's where we are judged right now. I'm pleased with our outcomes, but this is the challenge we face. And the challenge we face is we are going to have to make sure that we have the support needed, the financial support, the infrastructure, the teachers to support this ever-growing population of multilingual learners. And finally, I've learned, like many other districts in the United States, that we have issues that are not only very difficult, but sometimes impossible to solve. And really, there aren't easy solutions. I get all the time about the easy solutions. Why don't you just put a person on every bus, a monitor on every bus? Well, if I could hire 500 bus monitors, we would do that. But we cannot hire 500 bus monitors. And so our challenges are clear. through all of the great things that I've talked about, there is no doubt staffing shortages in this nation are immense. From teacher shortages, we know about that, to bus driver shortages, staffing in nearly every single area are a major challenge when it comes to education. I do want to recognize our HR team. If you guys are here, your guys' work is incredible through all the challenge that we face. Thank you for our HR team for your continued hard work. And I will talk. Clearly, we know the major issue that we are dealing with is transportation. I know you've probably followed this a lot, so I'm not going to spend much time on it, but we know this. 10 years ago, we had over 950 bus drivers. Right now, we have approximately 550 bus drivers, and we are providing the same services to families all across this district that we did with 950 bus drivers. It is not a paradigm that can continue. We're going to have to make tough choices, and none of those choices have great answers or might have unintended consequences with them. We are going to have to make tough decisions because there's only two things we can do: increase drivers or decrease routes. That's what we can do. And so we are working extremely hard on increasing drivers, but at the same time having to make some difficult decisions about routes so that we won't have kids missing school or getting late home at night. And that's the work of our board. We have never shied away from very difficult decisions. We're going to do that again and make sure that once again the community is very clear what choice we make, what that outcome will be if we reduce our routes. But those challenges are clear. Our achievement gap continues to be something we focus on. We are making progress in that. But I would not stand here and say that's not a continued challenge for us as we move forward. But despite them, we're on the right path. I feel it. Like I feel such great things happening in our schools right now. And it's really the people. Really, how many people have seen Larry Farish, our bus driver in Levi? Hopefully you've seen that story. If you hadn't, check it out. The bus driver, this young man, Levi, didn't have pajamas for pajama day, and he was all sad and crying. And Larry went out and bought him some pajamas between runs and brought him back to the school. And Levi was it's all over it's going national now. But I mean, that's the type of thing that we see. Or our teachers and their impact on our kids. And so I'd like you to see from our kids' mouths the impact that our teachers have on our kids every single day.
It's the nervous energy that
I guess.
carrying us forward.
Miss Humphrey, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we've got somebody that wants to say something to you. Tina, we got a surprise for you. Come on in.
Miss Lowry, you have a special visitor today.
What's over these cameras?
Well, I got like a little letter that I was going to read to you, if that's okay.
And try not to cry.
Dear Miss Humphrey, our mom decided to tell you how happy I am to be in your class because you are the best teacher I've ever had in my life.
From the beginning, you've been an amazing teacher.
I've had 13 years of schooling in my life. I went through plenty of classrooms and meeting new teachers, but never had I had another like you.
I think you deserve the world and then more.
And when I say you changed my life, I literally mean you changed my life.
When I think about you, I think about a feeling of acceptance, of inclusion, of belonging, a feeling that ultimately saved my life, or more accurately, convinced me that my life was worth saving.
You will always hold a special place in my heart, regardless of where the next chapter of my life takes me.
I am an awesome student because of you. I am an amazing singer because of you. I'm a kind and caring person because of you. My mental health is really fantastic because of you, and I feel like I can conquer anything because of you.
You believed in 5th grade Emily when no one else would. So much so that it was enough to challenge her future and help create the person that I am today.
You inspire me to become like you and like the type of teacher that you are, and to be the teacher that the students feel like they can come to.
And I will never forget what you taught me in that classroom. I will use it in my life and take it with me wherever I go.
It makes me proud to say to people like you that I have made it through. It makes me proud to make you proud, and I hope I continue to do so throughout my life.
And I just want to let you know how much you truly mean to me, because you deserve to hear it a lot more than you do.
So Ms. Montgomery, thank you for being the teacher that I needed to thrive and succeed. I hope you continue to impact students now the way you have for me. Thank you.
Sincerely, Sophia.
Thank you so much.
Of course. I definitely wanted to do this for you.
Sincerely, Lila Coburn.
Sincerely, Yusuf.
I love you so much and will carry the things you taught with me throughout life.
I love you so much. Oh my gosh.
It's every school, guys. Every school, teachers like that everywhere, bus drivers like that everywhere. Just amazing group of people. I want to recognize our teachers for their incredible work. I know we have some over here. Thank you so much for your hard work and everything you do. Teaching's really hard. It is really, really hard. And they come every single day and the great thing about it, and you don't realize this till maybe later, you get to change the trajectory of a student's life. Every single day you get that opportunity. So thank you. Now bear with me here for a couple more minutes, because one of the other things I've learned, and this is, forgive me, this is kind of my snarky part of my speech. So everything was good. This is a little bit of the snarky part of my speech. But the other thing I've learned is kind of facts are optional at some time. And the narrative around JCPS, although very similar in many ways to many other districts across this state and nation, somehow seem to get cloudy, especially when it gets to Frankfort. And so I think it's important that we identify some of the things that are misconceptions. I hope you will become champions about this, so when people say this, you say, no, that's not true. That's absolutely not true. And then I'm going to kind of call to action on a couple of things that are going to negatively impact JCPS. So let's talk about these misconceptions. First of all, this belief we need to have this big audit of JCPS. Let's get into JCPS. And here's a list of our audits, guys, since I have been superintendent of JCPS. You can see these are all external audits, looking at our entire district, not just looking at finances, our entire districts. You can see 17. 2 in 2018, 1 in 2019, 1 in 2020, another in 23. I wonder why there wasn't one in 21 and 22. Oh yeah, that was a pandemic, is the only reason we probably didn't have 2 more. So what I would encourage the legislature to do is how about just do a meta-analysis of all of these audits that we've had over the past 7 or 8 years. Every single one of them. Every single one of them has identified things that we are doing so well. So let me show you a few of these, just so we know. These are pulled quotes directly from the audit. Council of the Great City Schools, there's no reason to believe the district's very experienced and committed staff will not rise to the occasion if appropriately led by the board and superintendent. Council of Great City Schools emerged from the review very optimistic about the district's future and stands at the ready to help going forward. 2019, Cognia accreditation, outside organization with the advent of new leadership and initiatives often characterized as North Stars that promote collaboration coupled with innovation, a culture of hope and promise are emerging. Next one, 2020 from the KDE management audit. And I want to, whether the commissioner was Wayne Lewis, Stephen Pruitt, Jason Glass, they all have had hands in a JCPS audit. A pattern of significant lack of efficiency and effectiveness in the government and administration of JCPS does not exist, and no further action toward JCPS should be taken pursuant to the KRS, as you can see. In 2022, there is evidence that the district leads and operates under a governance and leadership style that promotes and supports student performance and system effectiveness. The board operates responsibly and ethically and engages in predominantly data-driven policy decisions. And the next one, just as recently as 2 weeks ago, Ray Hart, the executive director of the Council of Great City Schools, came in with the news that I'll share momentarily about our growth in reading and math, and said this growth that we have seen is historical in nature. And so once again, they call for an audit. We have plenty of them for you. And I will say this, I am not afraid of any audit, as I've not been afraid of any of the other audits, as long as they are done fairly, equitably, and without a predetermined decision being made, which I have to highly question. Let's talk about our total budget. How many times do you hear this? JCPS has a $2 billion budget. How can they have $2 billion budget? It's greater than Metro Council's budget. Everybody heard that one? All right, let's look at the second largest district in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Their budget is $867 million, and they are 2.5, right at about, times smaller than we are. I'm not going to do the math for you. I think everybody could get their calculators out and multiply 867 times by 2.5, and you will see a number that is actually larger. You will also know that that budget is bigger than the Metro Council of Lexington, Kentucky. And these are not the only districts. I just pulled this out, and that's nothing against Fayette County. They deserve and should have that budget for the kids that they serve, just as we should. But I hope we can see our budget is not out of line with any other districts in the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and that is fact that we should see right there. The next one, we have this huge central office. This enormous central office with all these people making six figures. I don't know when we just get past the $100,000 mark, because 15 years ago, $100,000 was like 75 right now. But let's look at the facts. This is straight from the Kentucky Department of Education. This is per pupil spending for central office administration. We are the lowest in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. That's a narrative that no one wants to hear and wants to say. Those are the facts right there. I did not make up those figures. That comes straight from the Kentucky Department of Education's website per student spending on central office administration. So I don't know how we've gotten away from that from so many years, but those are the facts. How about the next one? Per pupil spending. I hear this all the time. You spend $20,000 per student. How can you not be successful? Well, the reality is for most students, regular ed, we are spending $7,000 to $10,000 per student. But what we do have are a fantastic array of schools who meet the needs of our kids. The one that facing you is on the left, that's Churchill Park School. If you ever want to feel good about what we are doing, spend a few days or just a few hours in Churchill Park. It is our kids with our most severe needs, and it's one adult per child, all the services we could possibly provide them, including a therapeutic pool. It's about $105,000 per student. Also, multilingual learners, special ed students that other institutions do not have to support, we have to support. And I'm proud to say that we do that better than anyone else. But it is not the right narrative to just say it's $20,000 a student without making sure we understand the students and the population that we support in JCPS. Moving on. Well, I thought I had one more. So, but what I wanted to say were these are the narratives that you hear across this state and this community that are just not true. And I'm going to make a call to action. There are two things that I think are going to be the most damaging to this community in many, many years. I spoke yesterday about legislation around anti-DEI. For me, it's not about DEI, it's about student outcomes. If we have an achievement gap, we have to make sure we address the students who are not achieving at the levels we want them to achieve. And what that is going to require is increased investment, increased training of our teachers. I could go on and on. And that is what we are about, student outcomes and eliminating that achievement gap. The Urban League, thankfully, with the group called A Path Forward, has created a document opposed to the anti-DEI legislation. I would really encourage you to sign off in support of the Urban League and A Path Forward. It is important. I believe you can access it through the Urban League's Facebook page. I have signed it. It is critical for the success of this community moving forward that we have the opportunity to support the kids, the most marginalized kids in our community. And then finally, the commission to split up the district, and I'll finish my snarky part of the speech on this, that splitting up the district, this is my opinion, I believe this, I've been in this district 27 years, and whatever happens will be post me. So it's not about my job. It will be the most damaging decision made to this community in many, many years. So not only will our teachers in our high-need schools not be paid $8,000 more, they will actually be paid $8,000 less to work in our high-need schools. We will not be able to do any of the things we've done. Clearly, we are on the right path. We are walking that right path. Splitting up the district is not the answer. I would challenge the legislators this. If that is what you want, and to have a commission to study JCPS, make sure it's well represented from the people that will have the impact of this decision. which right now, according to legislation, it would not have. No one from JCPS is on there to dispute any of the facts. No one from the communities most marginalized from this decision are on this committee. And so, if not well represented by the people in this room and the people in this community, I'm not sure it can be a fair, I know it can't be a fair commission. And so, thank you for putting up with my snarky part. So, now back to the positive, and I'm going to finish up. Finally, the outcomes, which are the most important thing. We have positive outcomes now at every single level, elementary, middle, and high school. Of course, it's not going to be talked about a great deal. I just told you about researchers from Harvard and Stanford found that our math and reading recovery was higher than the average in Kentucky. That was among the best in the nation of large school districts. That black students, although we still have a ways to go to recover that achievement gap, have recovered. And this is when we're talking above one grade level, and that's why Ray Hart said how impactful this was. And as you can see, the black students had almost a half grade level equivalent improvement in reading. Hispanic students had a third of a grade level equivalent improvement in math. That's a The reason those happen is because of the intentional decisions we have made around our future state. And I can't say that enough. Then when it comes to high school, our outcomes, our improved reading proficiency, at elementary and middle was off the charts this year. Now we got a long way to go. We are changing the way we're teaching reading, our lens around, as I said, literacy, and this will be a long-term project for us to make sure kids are reading where they need to be, but we are already seeing outcomes that are bringing that reading proficiency up. And then when it comes to high school, we have record graduation rate, post-secondary readiness. We've actually eliminated the achievement gap when it comes to post-secondary readiness and the graduation rate, which is just absolutely immense. Thank you for that hard work. So just unbelievable outcomes are just beginning. We are on the right path. I can tell you this is JCPS by the numbers. These are just numbers that are up there. But every single one of these represents a kid in need. I said this last year, I'll say it again. When I started as a principal in 2007, we had free and reduce of 55%. We now have 70% free and reduce in this district. About 15,000 more kids living in poverty than they just did 15 years ago. We've got a lot of work to do. There is no doubt about it. But we are going to work hard to represent every single one of these students. Anything that takes away support and funding from these students, I can assure you that I'm going to stand up and fight against, and I would ask you to do the same thing. And I would go back to, finally, the first quote that we started with, which was President Obama's quote, "If you're walking down the right path and you're willing to keep walking, eventually you'll make progress." I've learned that. We keep down that path over this 7 years. We're making progress. We're doing it right now. And so I say this, thank you to you all for wrapping your arms around, supporting JCPS, all that you do. But I know the future is very bright for the students here at JCPS. Thank you.
I'd like you all to know